Hi, beautiful people. Okay, so that's the subject that we're going to talk about today, is the energetics of protection. And there's so much to this subject that it won't be something that we cover all in one session. So if you don't already have it, then just make sure that you've got your pen and your journal with you. My arms are my triceps are sore, so if I look like I'm doing strange things with my arms, I can't lift them up very well. So yes, protection, energetic protection. So what I'd like you to do through this session is make notes and refer back to these things when you have a little look later on, and really sort of check what's happening in your life in terms of your protection, what isn't, what things you were aware of, what things you weren't aware of. Like I mentioned, it's quite a big subject. Okay, so let's get started. Protection, what does that mean to us here on planet Earth as human beings? We believe in so many ways that we are protected and so many ways that we are unprotected. And we can look at that through the physical lens, the physical body, the mental lens, the mental body, the emotional lens, the emotional body, and through the spirit. And all of these different layers of our being require protection, and we require various different methods of protecting our own energies. And this is what we're going to kind of talk about probably over more than one session, because protection is not about simple techniques that we can just do here and there and everything's fine. It's about really looking into the energetics of how we carry ourselves in our life, and the things that we do and things that we say and the things that we allow and the things that we tolerate and the things that we put up with. This all really weaves into the world of protection. And so, yeah, there's a bit of awareness of boundaries coming in there as well. So boundaries is going to be something we're going to be looking at too, which, you know, some of you have studied with me before in detail in this group. Some of you haven't. And let me tell you, you'll always learn more when we go back to it again. So instead of waffling, I'm going to start getting into protection. I want to split this up into different sections. And today, I want to talk about protection in terms of the way that you're maintaining your own level of sovereignty and sacredness. Okay? When we are protecting ourselves, it means that we have boundaries in place so that we do not allow situations or people to harm us. And so when we look at the energetics of protection in terms of how we carry ourselves in relationships, at work, with friendships, with different people, with family members, we might often find ourselves very unprotected because of the way we actually carry ourselves and because of the way that we relate. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And it's not really a very easy subject to digest. My cacao. It's doing it in bits. Let's look at value. When we value ourselves and we understand how much we are worth, how worthy we are, how priceless we are, how powerful we are, and how amazing we are, we will be really clear on what we will tolerate from other people, how much we will give to other people and in what situations, and how much of ourselves we will keep sacred and maintain our sovereignty. So this sort of way of looking at protection is about how much of ourselves we are giving away. Okay, so if we have family members or friends or relatives that drain us, okay, so when we're with them, we feel drained. When we spend time with them, we feel drained. When we commit to doing things with them, we feel drained. When we're with them, we don't have much to say. We're not enjoying our time. We're not feeling joyful. We're not feeling blissful. And we're not experiencing a lift or a nice high vibration. And we often also in these situations really find ourselves doing things we wouldn't normally do. sort of helping, giving advice, making suggestions, trying to help. And this is part of energetic protection. We're not protected when we do these things if they are not in alignment with our soul. So, let me say that again. We are not protected when we do these things and take these actions if we are not in alignment with our soul. So if we say yes to things we don't want to say yes to just because it's a family member, then we're no longer energetically protected because we haven't kept ourselves in alignment. So we then can feel depleted. If we are energetically protected, depletion is not something that is going to happen easily. If we're not energetically protected and we find ourselves saying yes to things we don't want to do, doing things we don't want to do in general, and in situations we don't want to be in, and working in a job we don't want to work in, and hanging out with, family members we don't want to hang out with, and, toxic environments, and we're going against our soul, then we leave ourselves unprotected. We are actually leaving ourselves kind of wide open, and going against the soul is leaving us sort of vulnerable, right? Because when we are in flow with our soul and we're listening to our higher self and we're really clear that what we're doing is right for us and the things we're saying yes to are aligned and the things that we're committing to are because we want them and the job that we are in is serving our highest good, and the family members that we're spending time with are vibrant, and if they're not, we're able to maintain our vibrancy and vitality around them. So we can't change them, but we can protect ourselves, and we can also maintain our own sense of sovereignty and sacredness around them, because we don't start changing ourselves. We don't start saying things we don't want to say, things we don't mean, doing things we don't want to do, lowering our frequency, lowering our vibration. So this is a really common way to become unprotected. The universe is always going to look out for you when you are in alignment with your soul. When your soul's messages are coming in, you're hearing them and you're behaving in response to the soul. Always what is right for me, what is right for the highest good, what is right for everyone involved. Is this compassionate? Is this loving? Is this coming from a loving space? When we are clear of this, we're protected. When we throw our power away, give our power away, choose various different choices through the mental body, emotional body, through fear, scarcity, or lack, we end up unprotected. And so this can come in so many different shapes or sizes. You might find sometimes you're in situations with people and there might be loneliness, or there might be an element of wanting to fit in, or wanting to create new friendship circles, or wanting to connect. And then when we find ourselves in this, and notice how I use the word want is that emotional body. Want and need comes from the emotions and the mind. I want it, I need it. When we're in that place of I want it, I need it, this is what governs the connection sometimes. And so if we're in situations with friends, potential friends, people we call friends, people we're networking with, people that we want to, impress for any reason or connect with in any reason, we often find ourselves giving too much of ourselves away. So we might give advice. We might make suggestions. We might pretend we like things we don't like. We might fabricate things. We might do all sorts of different things, like say yes to working with people you don't want to work with, and all sorts. We might do that just because the emotional body or the mental body or both wants something. So it wants connection. It wants an outcome. It wants to control consequences. It wants new friends. It wants, all of these things. So then we end up giving part of ourselves away too freely. We might give too much advice. We might have a profession that, gives us that ability to really share information. So we might do that. And then when we do, we go down that route, we're actually becoming very imbalanced and very out of balance, because the law of karma states you give what you receive what you give in balance, and then everything stays harmonious. When you're giving, and someone or some people or some situation is taking, there's a lack of balance that happens very quickly. And that lack of balance will result in you no longer being protected, no longer being in balance. And as soon as we're out of balance, of course, our protective reserves are going to dissipate because we're not in flow anymore. And so our energy is no longer protected. It's like saying, hey, I've got this much energy and I can give you some of this energy as long as you give me some back. And when we do that, everything's good. When we're in these disempowering situations where we're giving too much of our energy away, we say, hey, I've got this much energy, I'll give you some, and I won't get that back, and I'm okay with being depleted. And no, we're not. We have a certain amount of life force. We don't want to chip away at it unnecessarily. The life force that we have, we want to keep it and grow it and expand it. And we can't grow it, keep it, and expand it when we're giving it away freely. Protection is really important, and we'll maintain a certain level of natural protection when we're not giving part of ourselves away. And this shows itself often in giving advice. So just be reflective and notice this with your family members and with your friends. Are you the fixer and the rescuer? Do you always jump in and try to give solutions and try to fix or try to help or try to give this advice or try to do this or try to make suggestions? And this might be coming from love and it might be coming from a beautiful place, but it is disempowering, because the only time that kind of information is actually welcome is if you've been directly asked for it and you are directly 100% okay with giving it. So it might be a professional situation, it might be a friend that asks you and that you're in harmony with. So there isn't an imbalance between you. Hey, you know a lot about this. Tell me your thoughts on it. And then freely you give because you want to. Not somebody like, oh, I'm victim mode. And then you're going, oh, in rescuer mode. And then we drop into that triangle that we've all learned so much about in this group. And then we end up unprotected. All right. So these are some ways that we can end up unprotected. Other ways we can end up unprotected naturally is when we're not listening to our highest wisdom. Okay. So our highest wisdom is coming through and it's giving us messages. And those messages are being downloaded all of the time. And we hear them often as intuition, right? So it will come in and that sort of intuition might say, this situation is, this situation's good for you, go with it. So then you hear that intuitive message and you go, cool, I'm in. Intuition might always say, this doesn't feel right. And you might get a feeling that is visceral, or you might get a thought or a message or a sensation or something else that gives you this clear, hey, everything's not okay, listen to your intuition. And you might not listen to it. And it could be anything. It could be your intuition saying, hey, you're going to get sick. You're doing too much. You're not eating well. You're going to get sick. And you just keep plowing through. Next thing you're sick. It might be your intuition telling you that a job is no good for you, or that a person that you're hanging out with is toxic, or that a relationship's going to go sour, or that somebody else's relationship's going to go sour, or a number of different things. The list is endless. And you ignore it. It may be that there's a twinge in the body that you've got that you ignore. It may be a twinge in the mind that you ignore. It might be something that you suppress. So, you need to go and have that medical checkup, but you don't go. Or you heard somebody say something to someone that was pretty harmful and you just pretended that you hadn't and ignored it, so on and so on. And so these intuitive messages that come through, these things that we know, it's actually very important to listen to them, because if we don't listen to them, we stop being activated in soul mode. We stop receiving this wisdom clearly, and we end up really stuck in the mind and in the emotions, and then we're really unprotected because we're being driven by scarcity, fear, lack, and these lower vibrational frequencies. Then what happens is the protection drops, the resilience is down, and then we are left open and vulnerable. Protection is also very low when we rely on others, all right? So can you see how the energetics of protection is probably very different to what you're sort of talking about? This is why we need a few weeks probably on this subject. But the protection gets very low when we have a tendency of really kind of sort of going on and on and on and on and on against the soul. No matter what we do, no matter what it is, We might go on and on and on against the soul, time and time again, hearing messages that we're supposed to do, having thoughts, having feelings, having all those sensations. And we might find ourselves really going against them. And then the protection gets very low because we're not in any flow with ourselves. We can get very low protection when we're not eating well. We don't have a strong field then. We're not getting the right nutrients. We can get very energetically unprotected when we are going with everybody else's views, thoughts, opinions, and beliefs. So when somebody believes something and it's their belief and we adapt it, when somebody is leading us a certain way and we are swayed by their impressions, when we told what to do by others, when we are having information dictated to us by others, when we have somebody at the top and they're in a hierarchical system with us and they're the boss and they're telling us what we should be doing, and we have a completely different alignment to them and we're hearing something else from our soul, but we are still, regardless, disregarding our own sense of sovereignty, our own sense of self in these situations, and we're following on with what someone else is saying or believing. This leaves us very unprotected because we are actually not listening to our own flow, our own rhythm. We're disregarding it and we're saying, hey, you're not important. I'm going to prioritize something else. And when we prioritize something else that is not ours, we're completely out of integrity. And when we're completely out of integrity, we are unprotected. All right? So integrity, authenticity, being in the flow and being in the rhythm, everything slots into place. And we feel like we're in the right place. Whereas when we're out of integrity because we're going along with someone else's beliefs, whether it's their religion or whether it's the way they want you to tie their shoes or whether it's what your boss is telling you at work or somebody's telling you to eat a certain way. And often, by the way, let me just make that clear. Often this is not someone telling you, you're actually just following what someone else is doing because you've seen it online or read about it in an article or read a book about it or you've heard it's good. Often we just follow like sheep and we end up doing what we're doing because of someone else's rules, opinions, and beliefs. And that means that our energetic cords that come in with our own beliefs are actually being disregarded. And so instead of the cords that come in through your crown chakra with your information being just yours, you actually almost consult external sources rather than trust yourself. And when you consult external sources and trust yourself and you go, oh, I know, I'll plug into those cords of belief instead. I'll plug into those cords of belief instead. I'll believe this, I'll believe this, I'll believe this. And as you do that, you lose your power. And you lose your power, you lose your energy, and then you lose your natural protection. There is no protection over you anymore because you haven't maintained it. We really need to be in our sovereignty, to be in our full power. To be in our full power, we need that clarity, coherence of who we are, certainty of what we're here to do. And even if it's vague, we're still following that path of compassion coming from a place of love. Right? And this energy around following suit is huge. And I'll give you some examples. We follow diets we've told about. We follow yoga classes that we've been told are good. We follow exercise classes that someone else is doing. We follow whole programs of work, trainings. We follow belief systems in a religious context, in spiritual context. We get told so many different things from so many different teachers, and then we get confused and overwhelmed. Whereas what we really want to do is just take all the information that we want to take, not ever too much. Process that information accordingly, and then we see what fits and we see what resonates. And sometimes we need to be big enough to go, ooh, this is triggering me, and there's a reason it's triggering me. It's because it's something I haven't yet learned and I need to learn it, instead of, oh, this is triggering me, I'm going to run for the hills, or I'm going to blame everyone else, or I'm going to externalize my energy. Often a trigger from something new means there's work to be done. Well, it's always the case. So if somebody teaches you something new and you go, oh, no, I don't need that, then we do need to look at that sometimes and check whether it's not just a personal trigger. Otherwise, Don't plug your cords of belief into others. You've got your own belief systems, and you might need to develop them and navigate them carefully and sculpt them and get the right sources of information from people you trust and help from coaches and guides and facilitators and healers and people who are actual starseeds, who we are here to facilitate people to be the best versions of themselves without our egos. We're here doing our job. This is our service. This is the role that humanity has in mind for us. When we're doing that, we're doing whatever we can to serve, right? Bring these people in, by all means, but not the people that want to manipulate. And also watch that in yourself. I'm hoping my dog doesn't bark in a minute because somebody just came in the back gate. It's been a ball, so fingers crossed. So we need to watch that with ourselves as well. So when somebody is trying to control you and they want to bring you into their belief systems, there's lots of different reasons people do that. Narcissists and people with personality disorders do it, and that is more of a mental health thing. And some people do it who are in fear themselves. So they're so fearful, they believe if they can try to control everything, that they will be safe. And, you know, this is also something I want you to reflect on and just be aware of yourself, is that sometimes you may try to also get others to believe what you believe. And when you do that, you're bringing people in to your field and believing that you're going to create safety or some kind of security if you have people on board with what your beliefs are. And we just want to watch this because we really want to be in a place of complete compassion that everyone else and everyone is always on the journey that they are supposed to be on. The journey that they're supposed to be on is exactly where they are supposed to be, even if you don't like it, even if you don't like where they are, even if you don't like that position that they're currently in, or what they're doing, or what they eat, or how they live, or the drugs they're taking, or the alcohol they're drinking. The list goes on. You might not like it, and it's hard to accept sometimes, but everyone is on their own individual journey. So we can't get involved with other people's journeys. We can facilitate them if they choose to allow us to facilitate them, yes. But we need to be really careful with that energy of bringing people into your belief system and not being okay if they don't have them, and then also vice versa, being sucked into it. And I've worked with a few students lately who, and this is a subtle way that I notice it, but I work with lots of people in many different capacities, and a lot of students recently, well, I know over the last few years, of course, when I'm doing teacher trainings and things like that, who have this belief system by something they've been told by a yoga teacher. All right, so they go, oh, but, you know, I know this is fact because such and such. No, it doesn't work that way ever. You know, there's nothing that we can say, I know as fact, so that's the way it is. It's not right for us to do that. Somebody else might have different beliefs. Somebody else might feel differently. Somebody else might have a different perspective. And what we want to work towards in compassion is being really allowing of that. You might not like it, but we don't want to play that game of control, manipulation. When we do this, it really drops our protection. This is circling. We are not protected when we're going off with someone else's belief system, because the soul is trying to send messages to you. And remember, the soul is the driver, and your physical body here is one you have in this life to carry the soul from the beginning to the end of this life. And you have the mind and the emotions, which are like the passengers in the car. Soul is the really important part. And if your soul is sending messages, you're not listening because you're too busy taking on everyone else's belief systems. And this is, you know, there's people who go, oh, you know, what should I do? And they ask everyone else what they should do. And, oh, maybe I should do this. And what would you, you know, we're not trusting ourselves, not backing ourselves. We're very unprotected because the soul and the personality are not in alignment. And to be protected and to have a nice golden halo of protection around yourself, you need to be in integrity. And to be in integrity, the soul and personality need to be in harmony. And when the soul and personality are in harmony and it fits like a glove, then we're naturally protected. Whereas if we are following everyone else's belief systems and ignoring our soul, ignoring what messages we're being told and ignoring what we really believe to be true, we're disempowered. We've thrown our power away. We've given our power away. And because of that action, we are now not protected anymore. All right. So I've gone into quite a few scenarios, and I could go all day, as you know me. What happens when we are unprotected in these kind of situations, when there's been a period of disempowerment and there has been a period of giving your power away and we are then unprotected? It means we don't have this natural protection around us. We don't have resilience. We don't have strength. And it means our defenses are down. So physically, if we're unprotected, we might find that we're getting sick a lot. We might find that we're getting lots of aches and pains, lots of sickness, lots of immune system stuff, lots of flus, lots of colds, lots of cold sores and migraines and headaches. And don't get me wrong, these are all problematic anyway for everyone. If you get this, it's not a sign of weakness. We all get sick, and we're supposed to, by the way. But if these things are happening regularly, it can mean that we're unprotected. The other thing is feeling unsafe energetically. So if we don't feel grounded, we don't feel anchored, we don't feel safe, we're sassy, there's a lot of anxiety, might be a lot of depression. Those two energies are quite different. There might be a lot of fear, and there is an inability to feel comfortable and confident. And this is a sign that our protection is down. Another sign our protection is down is we might take on everyone else's emotions. So we might meet someone who's struggling, know people around us are struggling. We might even not know them, but we might find that we take on their energy and we feel it like it's our own. So we might feel it as actual heavy emotion that stays with us. We might also feel it as pain in the body or discomfort or ache or lethargy or anxiety or stress. We might find that we're really emotionally affected by it, and it really saddens us, and we get sad and upset. We can also get the same thing if we watch a show or if we see something said on the TV. If the protection's quite down, that can be something that can be an issue. With the mind, with protection, if the mental body is unprotected, we can often get very, very foggy, very fuzzy, not thinking clearly. A lot of lack of clarity and lack of coherence. We can get anxiety and stress of the mind and the thoughts. We can get clouded. We can get very sleepy. We can get headaches. We can get a loss of intuition, a loss of connection, a loss of our spiritual receptivity. And this is really important for us to be able to notice that. We also often get these ruminating thoughts when we're not protected. And if we're really not protected, we can really pick up on energy that is around us, collective, physically, mentally, emotionally. So we can pick up on everything. Collective energy, things that are happening in a larger scale, traumatic events, natural disasters, all sorts of different things, or stuff your best friend's going through, or someone that you meet on the subway, or someone that you meet on the street, or someone that you give a healing session to. The list goes on, or a family member. When your protection is down and you're not resilient, it's very easy to take all of this on. And it's literally like you're packing it into your energy field, taking on everyone's stuff, and it's in your energy field, and then it gets into your body, it gets in your organs and your tissues and your glands. And then before we know it, we've accumulated a lot of external stress. In terms of spiritual protection, when we're not spiritually protected and when there is spiritual energy around us, this can play havoc on everything. Right? So if we are really struggling with keeping ourselves protected and maintaining a level of protection and giving our power away and doing all of those things, spiritually disconnected. We don't receive the messages clearly. We don't feel like we're in tune with our intuition. And we might also get something called psychic attack, where we actually feel the energy of others attacking us psychically. And this is something I've experienced myself, so I know what this is like, where someone is negatively sending you energy and harmful thoughts, and they're jealous or they're angry or they're upset or, something else, and they're deciding to send that energy to you, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and you can actually feel it because you're under psychic attack. And so this is something that can happen when we're not spiritually connected. When we're not spiritually connected, the protection is low, then we can really safely say all of those levels of protection are going to be down. Okay. So in terms of protection, when we really want to make sure we maintain energetic safety at all times, we need to trust our inner wisdom. trust our gut. That's a real visceral feeling that we get in the abdomen when something is a certain way. That intuitive feeling where we just know and it's in the gut. We need to make sure we're not giving too much of ourselves away. If somebody wants a lot of information from you, then they can pay you as your job, or it is in total harmony because it's agreed and it's a karmic exchange. You're not running with everyone else's belief system, so you need to regularly check in. This is what I really believe. These ones can be big ones because we can have had this going on in the background and playing as a record since we were very small, because we take on all of our parents' learned behaviors and belief systems, and we inherit a lot from as well as what we learn. And then often we can find, wow, we're really plugged into all of these different beliefs that are actually not ours. So getting really clear and reflecting on, is this mine? Do I believe this? Am I okay with this? You know, is this what I believe? Am I okay with what this boss is telling me to do at work? Am I out of integrity when I'm doing these things that someone else is suggesting? So this session today, I'm opening the doorway for you to get really clear on not giving your power away to the point of being unprotected. Next session, we're going to continue this. Here's what I want you to do following on from this session. So make sure you write this down. I want you to take these journal prompts and work with them over the next couple of weeks. And I want you to sort of really sit with it on a regular basis. And I want you to look at those areas. Okay? So journal prompt number 1, am I giving my power away in my relationship? And it's a journal prompt. So it's going to prompt consciousness stream writing, where you just write and you just write and you just write. And you might reflect on different relationships, and you know, anything could happen in this consciousness stream writing. But that is your journal prompt. Am I giving my power away in my relationship? Prompt 2, are my beliefs really my own? Are my beliefs really my own? You might go, yeah, they definitely are. That's all I'm going to write. Fine, but still write it and see what comes up. And I want you to look at all of your belief systems, everything. So this is definitely a couple of weeks worth of journaling. Are my beliefs really my own? And because it's consciousness stream writing, lots of things can come through, and there might be lots of things you're attaching to and you've heard about and you still believe about yourself. And I want you to really look at what you believe about yourself and get into the nitty-gritty, dirty stuff of it, because we all have negative thoughts about ourselves and we all have perceptions about ourselves, and most of them are just complete fabricated bullshit based in no truth. So have a look at those things as well, because those belief systems could have come from somewhere else, or something that you've made up completely, or something that you've based on from someone else's perspective, somewhere external. So having a look and seeing what comes through with this one. I want you to look at one more journal prompt. And this last journal prompt is about whether or not you are unprotected on any of those levels. So I want you to kind of break it down. So it's still one section, but look at whether you believe that you are currently protected mentally, protected emotionally, protected physically, protected spiritually. You can start it like, I am protected physically because, I am protected spiritually because, or it might, and then it might also be, I currently am not because, and you might come up with things like, I feel I might not be protected physically because I'm often getting sick. I feel like I may not always be protected mentally because I feel I take on the thoughts of others, and just really be curious. This is a journal prompt exercise that I want you to use to stimulate curiosity and to look at what might need to be in place so that you can start to build your protection. All right, that's where we're going to leave it today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just write a little message in the chat underneath this. And also, really important to do the journal prompt. And then when we talk again, we're going to be talking about methods of protection and things that we can do to be protected. And in the meantime, if you kind of go, people, oh, what can I do? Just send me a private message so that I can give you something to do so you feel safe around that. But do some journaling and let's tune in again soon. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Namaste.